this is kind of just a start demo thing, so yeah, bear with us. It may be a bit rusty, but it is kind of just a general chat about stuff we enjoy. So yeah,
It's gonna be rusty.
it's gonna be very rusty. Yeah, uh, that's right. We get some WD-40, it'll be all good.
Always.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So MMA, UFC. What's your take on this new thing they're doing with the? So I say not new thing. A lot of the fighters now at the moment are kind of like dropping out. I say not dropping out, but saying they're going to retire and saying they want a higher paycheck. I mean, what's your kind of perspective on that?
Oh, good question. Good question. I know. I saw Conor McGregor wanted to. He's basically saying he's retired. I don't know how much I believe that. I would believe GSP truly being retired. I don't think GSP is coming back. But for Conor to say that he's retired now, I'm a bit skeptical about that. I'm not a fighter, so I can understand,
Yeah.
him retiring. He's made enough money. Like, let's be honest, he's made enough money. So far as what the average person would call enough, being like what I don't know, like how many millions, like over like 100 million at this point, probably.
Yeah, something around that time. Yeah.
So
I mean, like I look at it, like I think he wanted a certain fight, and he wanted the Khabib fight, and he was like, "Oh, I'll fight this person so I can get to Khabib." And now they're saying, "No, you're gonna have to fight this person." And he kind of is like, "Well, what? No, I want the title." Like he wants that title shot, and I don't think he has that kind of leverage anymore,
yeah,
where he can just like go, "Oh, I'm Conor McGregor. Give me that title shot. Give me that title shot." I mean, like don't get me wrong, against like Cowboy, he was really good. Like he was, he looked fast. He looked like kind of the old McGregor, and he had a bit more of a swagger about him when he was fighting. But I just don't think, he doesn't deserve a title shot. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, he was previous like the light heavyweight champion, and he was the first double champ. But like, let's be honest, like he was out of the ring for a couple of years. He lost against Khabib. He doesn't deserve another title shot. I think he had his opportunity, and like he's got to earn it like everyone else. And I don't think he wants that. He wants a straight money fight, title fight, and I think he wants to go out like that. But it's just not really. I don't think it's fair in that kind of sense. I think. I mean, I feel sorry for Ferguson because like he got kind of like it was meant to be Khabib and Ferguson. That was meant to be the fight. And obviously that's not happened now. And I don't think that's ever going to happen. I mean, I think Gaethje's going to fight him. And I don't know how that's going to turn out because Gaethje's a very interesting fighter, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to beat Khabib.
I think it goes back to the thing about styles win fights. I think Gaethje has a good chance against Khabib. I think he definitely has a good chance, especially like how from what he showed fighting Tony. I think.
Oh, that was a great fight, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, his accuracy in his punches is just amazing, and the heaviness, you could tell. You don't even have to like ask. You can see the punches are heavy. You can feel it.
Just feel it for the screen.
Good. I mean, here, like especially now where there aren't any crowds, you can really hear the impact of every punch being landed. And
yeah.
I mean, for me, just as a spectator online, I just have so much more respect and appreciation for what those guys are actually enduring. When they go into a fight. So, talking about Conor and wanting a title fight, I think, to be fair, on every other, UFC fighter, he shouldn't really have a second title fight. It's not like boxing where you sign a deal saying, okay, if I lose this fight, then we're going to have a rematch. There's a rematch clause. There's no rematch clause in the UFC.
No, of course.
And Conor's been away doing his own thing with his business, with his Proper 12 whiskey, and he's not as engaged. He's not as hungry? How can you be as hungry? Literally, it's impossible to be as hungry when the one thing you were aiming for has been achieved, which is to probably for him to put his family in a good position, and they're set for life for generations, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
so I don't think he deserves a second chance. I think that um, he didn't perform to his best for sure when he faced Habib. He definitely
yeah,
didn't perform to his best. That wasn't the best Connor we've seen. I think seeing Connor against Tony, sorry, against Tony, seeing Connor against Cowboy, that Connor is much closer to the Connor we expected going into the Habib fight, but we didn't get that. So I don't think he deserves a second chance. He'd have to work his way back up through the ranks, win fights, and then get the opportunity. And yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's
yeah, yeah. He doesn't want to be a because apparently he was meant to be like a backup for so when Fergus obviously when Khabib had to pull out of UFC 249, they were going to get Connor, but he said he wasn't a backup fighter, so he wasn't going to fight Gaethje,
mm,
which kind of like makes me feel like he doesn't want to fight Gaethje because he was calling Gaethje out a while. And I don't think he wanted it. I don't know. I don't think he wants to fight Gaethje. I think after seeing Gaethje against Ferguson, I mean, don't get me wrong, Gaethje's been knocked out by Poirier. Like, he's a good fighter. And he's like I said, he's a heavy hitter and he's strong.
yeah,
But I I mean, like I say it's a good matchup. I mean, Conor and Gaethje would be a good matchup definitely because they're just two very different fighters. But with McGregor's cardio, I mean, like don't get me wrong, like he ends fights. He's a knockout artist, and when he goes to four, I mean, he went 5 rounds with like what Diaz in their second fight,
yeah,
and arguably Diaz could have won that fight. I mean, obviously it was a bit different, but yeah, no, I mean with McGregor, I mean, there's not he hasn't got he's set for life. He has enough money, and he's always talking about boxing, wanting to fight Mayweather or trying to box this or trying to do this, and it's like, I think as well he's trying to keep hype around his name because obviously hype sells. And if you keep it, and at the moment, obviously, if your name's in a bit here, there, and everywhere, people will be interested. So whether or not he fights again, I don't know. But I don't. I just like I said, I don't think he's gonna get the. He's not gonna get a title shot. And I think if he doesn't get the title shot, or he wanted a fight with Anderson Silva, he wanted a catchweight fight,
yeah.
like between middleweight and welterweight. And I'm just thinking, like, really, like, it's not. That's not a fight I want to see. I don't want to see Conor McGregor face basically a retired Anderson Silva. And if it was Anderson Silva of 5-6 years ago, I'd rather see that fight. But
Yeah.
Anderson Silva, I mean, look, he looked, he had moments when he was fighting Adesanya
Mhm.
in that fight. I don't know if you've seen Adesanya versus Silva.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, that fight was just like, it's just epic. It was a great fight. But like, he's not. Silva's not that level anymore, and I think going against McGregor, it's an easy fight, and he's trying to fight. I think he's getting fights with people who kind of has-beens like Cowboy. Like I said, full respect for Cowboy. He's a great fighter. I mean, and he had his moments in the UFC. Like he's got the most wins,
Mhm.
and he's basically a veteran of the sport. But like when I saw his last fight in the UFC 249 against Perez, he looked very slow and kind of stiff. But I don't think he can challenge people in the top 15 anymore, Cowboy. And I think a win over Cowboy is, I mean, I mean, before it used to be a big thing, but I think now it's more or less like you're expected to beat him. So for McGregor, obviously he came out amazing, knocked him out. I mean, sorry, TKO. But I don't think that was for me. I don't think that was that as impressive. I mean, the knockout comes quick. Yeah, the
Do you,
hype was there.
do you mean Connor?
Yeah, Connor, sorry, yeah, knocking out Cerrone. I wasn't as impressed with it. Like, I mean, it was great. It was a different style of how he did it, but I just like it's Donald Cerrone. Like, he's old. He's injured. Like, he's been knocked out so many times. And I mean, when he was fighting Tony Ferguson, he just didn't look. he didn't look like willing. I mean, I think he enjoys fighting, but I think someone needs to probably tell him it's time up. And trying to take clay, like, it's obviously an achievement winning a fight, 100%. But when you're in a high, when you're an elite athlete in the MMA, like, you're fighting top of the game, like say McGregor was. Like, I just don't think it's you don't deserve a title fight because you beat Donald Cerrone. Like, that's not what you get. I mean, your name, yeah, it's big, but like, what have you achieved? And like, if he did like Masvidal, he beats 3 people in like a crazy fashion, then somewhat you could say, oh, he deserves a title fight, because obviously Masvidal, like, he deserves a title shot.
Yeah, for sure.
But because he's done what I mean, look, he's what, out of all the welterweights last year, like, who I've just apart. I mean, Kamaru Usman, obviously, he's a great welterweight, definitely deserves to be champion. But like any other welterweight in that division, I just think he was the most consistent welterweight last year. And yes, like, fair enough, he's got a lot of decision losses, but I think he deserves an opportunity. And I think with the UFC, I think the issue is they're not paying fighters the money they feel like they deserve. I mean, because I know it's happened a few times now. It's obviously John Jones has the issue. Apparently, that's one of the reasons why Henry Cejudo retired. And now Masvidal has come out and said, oh, look, I'm not getting paid enough, or I want a bit more money. And so what's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, I don't know how much they're getting paid. Well, that's one. Secondly, the UFC is a business.
100%.
And Dana White has done a lot to make MMA what it is now. I remember, like, early days when I started watching MMA fights, and it was kind of it was much more difficult to find a fight than it is now.
Oh, for sure.
You have fights every week, essentially.
Yeah.
And he's done a great job in that sense. So I think that question takes me back to the Conor McGregor era, the Mystic Mike era.
Mystic Mike. Come on. Mystic Mike. Sounds like your Domino's delivery, man.
Oh my gosh. Mac era. So, if you remember, Conor was doing so well. He had so much hype. And every time he made a call, he backed it with his actions, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And it got to a point where he actually wanted a piece of the UFC. He
asked, didn't he?
He asked for, like, I think it was ownership, maybe some.
Yeah, like a share, and he deserved it because he put, like, he basically. I mean, look at Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar was big when he joined the UFC.
Yeah.
I mean, UFC was relatively big, but I think he didn't just make it, oh, that odd skeptical. Oh, look, Brock Lesnar's fighting. It's like, oh, UFC, MMA, mainstream. It's made it popular. Like, people who aren't even casuals, like, oh, I want to watch Conor McGregor fight because it's Conor McGregor. And that's what he kind of did. He really brought people wanted to watch him fight, not because like they enjoyed MMA, but just because they enjoyed Conor McGregor. And I think, yeah, at the time when he was so big, I mean, man, like that, there was just such a hype around his name. It was crazy.
Yeah. But my view on that is, obviously Dana wasn't going to agree to that. I think Dana has 10% of the company or something.
Yeah, they sold it, I think.
Oh, okay.
I know they've sold it. He's the president, but obviously they sold it for like round about in the billions, like,
yeah,
to someone. So it's crazy like that.
And Conor's asking for a piece of the pie, but here's the thing: UFC is a business. There's going to be fighters that come. There's going to be fighters that go, and Conor can't say that he holistically made the UFC what it is. Because let's be honest, there are different people throughout the years that have made the UFC what it is at those time periods. For example, like Royce Gracie, all his fights, bringing that much hype, that much energy, that much skill. You know, especially from the Gracie family and their jiu-jitsu heritage. Um, you know, that was a person that brought so much to the UFC, and for Conor to say that, I can understand how he did make UFC so much bigger, um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, without the forefathers, you know, it wouldn't be what it is right
Oh,
now.
for sure. I mean, I don't know, like, I really enjoy watching Chuck Liddell. I don't, you must know
Yeah,
Chuck Liddell, the Iceman.
yeah,
Oh man, like fights like that, Tito Ortiz with Chuck Liddell. You got great fighters like that. Forrest Griffin, another big fighter. Yeah, people like that. Oh, Michael Bisping, for example. Michael Bisping
amazing.
was incredible. And then you got like what GSP, Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, I mean, his right self. I mean, he was incredible.
Hmm.
Uh, and then you got obviously, I mean, John Jones has had his ups and downs. Like John Jones could have been something different. It's just a shame with what the path he went down. I just feel like obviously he wants a lot of money. He needs to buy. He wants to go up to heavyweight. He wants to fight in Ghana at heavyweight. And he's like, well, I want to pay this much, but like he doesn't bring people aren't excited anymore to watch John Jones fight, and because he's done so much, his name isn't as big. Like with everything he's done, it's a shame because I feel at one point he was going to be like the next LeBron James. I think of UFC, he could become MMA's like superstar, where like he's that guy. Like he could have been that guy that everyone knew. Like everyone knows John Jones. You know what I mean? But instead, I think Conor McGregor capitalized on that, and like he's been paid well. He got paid well by the UFC. I mean, he doesn't get paid dodgy. He got all the fights he wanted. He got to fight whoever he wanted. UFC were very fair on him, and I think it's like you say with the Masvidal. I mean, Masvidal, like he's got to understand he's only been top draw for a year. Like
Yeah,
realistically, he's only been top draw for a year, and like I get it if you want more money to have these certain fights, if you want to fight this. But at the same time, they got to remember there's, got this whole COVID-19, it's a global thing, and people can't come watch the fights. You're not allowed to go watch fights. And you lose a lot of money through, people not being able to come watch live. So they're just relying on people buying the pay-per-view or watching it via ESPN or BT Sports.
yeah,
And I mean, it's obviously with MMA not being as big as boxing, and they've got big draw fighters, and they get the fans, they get the casuals, but like they're quite there yet with like where they can guarantee where they can make millions of pounds in fights. I mean, it would have been, I thought, a good idea to get McGregor maybe on a big fight with McGregor because that would have made him money for sure. But I mean, with the fighters, it's a tough one. But like, end of the day, you sign a contract,
yeah. Exactly,
and if
exactly.
you don't, obviously you want to fight in the best organization, but if it's money you want, like I'm sure, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much the one championship in kind of like in Asia, the Chinese. I don't know if you've heard of one championship.
No,
They're like UFC's biggest rivals, basically. They're like the UFC in like Asia, basically. They're
okay,
really big out there. They got Demetrius Johnson currently there. They did a swap deal for Ben Askren because Ben Askren was the champion there, and they
yeah,
did a swap for Demetrius Johnson, and obviously Demetrius Johnson was like flyweight champ, and they got Ben Askren who got basically steamrolled in the UFC.
that's another conversation. But yeah, yeah. I think if you sign the contract, you know, okay, fighters are fighting for their lives. Really, if you step
Yeah,
into the ring, anything can happen. There've been so many instances of people literally dying due to a fight, due to just one punch landing in the wrong
yeah,
place,
yeah,
and you know they are putting their lives at risk. But at the same time, no one's forcing them to put their lives at risk. You know,
mm,
that's why there's a contract. And if you don't want to risk it, if you don't want to take the risk with the fight, you don't sign the contract. And
yeah,
if you do sign the contract, then that means you agree with the terms of the contract. Therefore, that
yeah,
means agreeing with the with the financial benefit that comes with that contract. So I don't really think anyone has a place to complain about pay, especially
Yeah.
where people, just everyday people, with everyday lives, not making millions, not making hundreds of thousands, even people making hundreds of thousands, right? Like
Mm.
many people are getting like a 25% pay cut, I believe. And
Yeah.
why shouldn't an MMA fighter have a pay cut? Are they above pay cuts? It's like yes,
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you.
you are putting your life at risk, but guess what? Especially now, NHS workers are putting their life at risk,
Yeah, definitely.
right? And they're not putting their life at risk for millions.
No, no, definitely not. It's
So I
it's
think it's a bit
it's
wrong.
pounds. It's pounds compared to um what they're making. I mean, like I get it. Like thing is for me, right? Say I'm a fighter in the UFC.
Yeah,
They offer me a title shot, but they go, "We're only gonna pay you like 400K, and
yeah,
then you'll make some money off pay-per-view." I wouldn't care. I would not care. Maybe it's because I'm in a different scenario. Maybe because I'm not as wealthy as them. But
yeah,
for me, like I love MMA has been my life like since I was a child. Like I've always done martial arts. So someone to tell me I get paid to do what I love, and I can afford to get a nice house, get a nice car, treat my family, treat my friends, treat my girlfriend, and all that kind of thing. That is an opportunity, and I think sometimes when money blinds you,
yeah,
you become greedy and you want more. And I think I understand completely. Look, if you make the money,
yeah,
if you make, for example, if you're making a company a lot of money, then for sure you get what you pay for. But if you're only, say, for example, say if you're bringing like 60 people into sit down, you should only get paid a percentage of what you're bringing in, and then that's how because it's not because like boxing, for example, it's owned by different organizations. There's WBC, WBA, IBF, and stuff like that. So there's councils running it. With MMA, it's promotion. It's all separately owned.
yeah,
And in one sense, what I like about MMA to boxing is the fighters get paid quite reasonably equal. Because if you go down a lot of boxers, they don't get paid the same much. And the cards for fans, the opportunities for big fights compared to boxing and MMA, you get so many options. I mean, look at I don't know if you've seen some of the Fight Island cards. They've got Kamaru Usman fighting. They've got Max Holloway. Yeah, so Usman's fighting Burns. Then it's Volkanovski versus Holloway 2 for that rematch fight. And then Jose Aldo's fighting. I can't remember who the guy's fighting, but he's fighting for the title. So they got like, I think nearly, and then I can't remember the top of my head who else it is. But basically, I think on one night, 4 title fights on Fight Island. I mean, that's for the fans. Like that's one of those nights that's going to go down because at the moment, obviously, Sun of Sports is starting to come back, but UFC at one point were the only people doing live sports,
yeah,
and people have clinged onto it and they're interested. And with it being in Dubai, the times are quite realistic for people who are watching from the UK, America. So there's going to be and obviously other countries as well. I mean, it's going to be a big draw. And I think if Masvidal turned down a title fight because he wasn't getting paid enough, I think take the title, you're the champion. Once you're the champion, that's when money's different,
yeah.
because he's not even interim champion. He's the BMF title holder. I mean,
Yeah.
what is the BMF belt?
That's another thing, right? You can't look. The BMF title was a beautiful title fight to have, and no one could
Yeah.
argue. No one could argue that it was really between Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. No
Hmm.
one could argue that, you know.
Uh,
And but it was just one of those special fights.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
I mean, whoever beats Masvidal next, I'm sure Masvidal's gonna fight. He's gonna win fights, but everyone's gonna lose at some point. And
I'm
whoever
sure.
beats him, I think they take the title, right?
Well, technically, yes. Is it a real title or is it a one-off thing? Because then what happens? Does it only stay at welterweight or is it, what is it?
No, no. I feel like it's only whoever. My idea from what I've heard, I'm not sure if I heard correctly, is that whoever beats Masvidal takes that title and whatever else the match has.
Can you imagine? So imagine that, like Kamaru Usman, he beats Masvidal. He's then the welterweight champion and the BMF title holder.
Yeah,
But then what if he's decided to stay at welterweight? Does that belt stay at welterweight, or like if a lightweight comes up and tries to fight for the belt, and then he goes back down to defend the lightweight belt, and he loses to a lightweight? Do you know what I mean? It's weird how they gonna do it. Like, I mean, is it only that's the way? I mean, I feel like for me, it's a one-off belt, and then it's a hype. They did the hype. They just got to leave that belt, because if they do it again, I mean,
yeah,
there's some fighters out there who aren't BMF, man. There's some. Like, I mean, like I'm not saying these fighters they're not killers. I mean, I know these fighters are, but I'm on about like Wonderboy Thompson. The man, that guy just seems too nice. He's not. If he beat Masvidal, does he get there? I mean, he did. Yeah, I think he did beat Masvidal actually.
He did beat him.
Oh, he's a good. I like Wonderboy. He's one of my like. It's weird because I really like his style. It's different, and he sticks by style, and it's done him really well a lot of times. I mean, it's a shame. I don't know if he'll ever get a big title shot, but I really like him as a fighter, Wonderboy. I mean, I know I've seen you do your stuff. I mean, I know you. I assume you watch his channel.
Yeah, I watched his channel. Did the tornado kick.
See, I like it.
That was fun.
He's good. I mean, I like what he's doing. I like that kind of. I think he's using his platform. I think he's that guy who knows, like, oh, okay. I think maybe he wants a title. Obviously, if he gets a title fight, he'll take it. But I feel like he's gone. If I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I'm happy in my position, and I'm going to use my platform to better spread myself and get myself better known.
Yeah,
I like that. I mean, a lot of people are doing that now. Because his channel's great. He just seems very. He reacted to himself getting knocked out by Anthony Pettis. I mean, I love that. I watched that. I was like, fair play. That's what a winner does. You know what I mean? That's what a winner does. You know, it's what positivity. If you lose, you lose. You just got to move on, because people lose all the time. Mike Tyson got knocked out. You know, Muhammad Ali's lost, but Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson are recognized to be some of the greatest fighters of all time, and they've lost. You know, they've lost a lot. So, I mean, you can have this crazy unbeaten record, but I don't think necessarily it makes you the best. I mean, in your eyes, who do you think, if you're going to say at this moment in time, who's the GOAT?
Oh, still GSP.
You think GSP?
Yeah, still.
Man, I like GSP. He's good. He's really good. I mean, I like.
I'm sorry. The way he took out Bisping.
No, man, I was actually so disappointed, because I really like Bisping as a fighter. I mean, he's one of my favorite fighters. Bisping's like way to the title is a kind of like motivational story in itself. And then to see GSP beat him like that, man, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I completely respect Bisping. You know, I think he's an amazing fighter. You know, even like I watched some of his YouTube videos about his stories and stuff, and the fact that he fought with one eye essentially,
mate,
for so long. I mean, that's an accolade in itself, and that's amazing. But like, you know, the way that fight, he gave everything. GSP.
Sure.
And the way it finished was just like icing on a cake. You know, it was just right. I don't know. GSP just did it right.
I think it's weird. I mean, because GSP's fight IQ is obviously in its, you know, out of 100, it's 1,000. Do you know what I mean? He's a really intelligent fighter, and you know, he learns from his losses, and he's got great coaches. I mean, his jiu-jitsu coach, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, is so smart, and his training is so different. I mean, he does gymnastics. He does a lot. I saw a video. He has these weights underwater, and he does underwater workouts.
Yeah.
So it reduces injury. And I mean, I know he had an issue with his stomach, but just watching how he did with fighters was, it was crazy. I mean, I like GSP. For me, the GOAT for me is personally, I sway with two ways about this. If John Jones goes to heavyweight and wins the heavyweight title and defends it a few times, for me, he's the GOAT then. He's done the challenge that everyone thought he couldn't do. He's gone heavyweight. He's won the heavyweight belt. He's been basically undefeated in lightweight. And he takes the crown and goes, I'm the GOAT, because then he's achieved it.
Yeah,
but then,
for sure.
On my other side of the kind of argument, I feel like maybe it's just like the kicks, but Anderson Silva, man, he was just I used to love watching him fight. And then I don't know if you've ever seen him fight Chael Sonnen, but what he did, like he was getting battered by Chael Sonnen at one point, and all of a sudden he just pulls out this this guard, and he puts him in this horrible triangle. Just I think just like that in seconds, it was like how he was losing. He shouldn't have won that fight, and he just come out like that. And I just thought, man, that is a champion right there. That is someone like to the point where a lot of people just give up, but he just thought, no, I'm champion. I mean, for me, man, Anderson Silva. But then, yeah, John Jones. I mean, he's still got a few years. I mean, I don't know what's happening. I'd like to see him go welterweight. Not welterweight, sorry, heavyweight. Because I know DC and Jotic are fighting for a third time now for the belt. Well, what's the outcome of that?
Good question. Good question. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know.
It's got to be DC's last fight, though, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he's fighting. I don't really think he should fight after this, to be honest, because, I think having a good career in anything is knowing when to leave, and
you don't want to drag on.
Yeah, I think GSP showed a good example of leaving at the top. I think if Anderson Silva left a bit earlier, then it would have been better for his image, I guess. But
then you wouldn't have got that fight with Adesanya, and I mean that fight was.
I have a different view on that fight. I think that I think Anderson Silva became. I think he was a gatekeeper. He was definitely a gatekeeper. But I don't think. I think he stopped being a gatekeeper before the Adesanya fight, for sure. And I don't think that was not Anderson Silva at his best. Let's be honest.
No, for sure not.
So yeah, at this point, the gatekeepers, the stock gatekeepers across the different weights was Cowboy's a gatekeeper, and he's not. I don't think he's a gatekeeper anymore because
he's a journeyman. He's a fully qualified journeyman now.
He's like a test. It's like he'll test people a little bit, but I mean at this point I don't think he's really testing anymore. Is the top echelon of mixed martial arts.
Is Masvidal a gatekeeper?
I think he's definitely more than a gatekeeper after beating Nate Diaz.
Definitely. He hasn't his shot. Give him a shot, and I want to see it because at the moment, in that division, Kamaru Usman is an absolute animal. And if you can beat him, you're champion for sure. If you can beat him, you're champion for sure. Because at the moment, like he's for me, he just looks like the most dominant champion in the UFC at the moment. I don't think a lot of other fights you can go, oh, I can see it going this way, I can see it going this way. But I think in all the divisions at the moment, I just feel like for sure he's going to win that fight because he just looks his wrestling's really good and his standing just looks amazing. I mean, what he did to Covington. I mean, that was a great fight, but he broke his jaw in a punch, and like I know Covington complained saying there was a lot of cheating by the referee, but he got served. He got he got destroyed, and I'm glad that happened because I don't like Covington. I know it's part of his image, but I don't like him, and I'm really happy that fight went the way it did.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're right in saying that Kamaru Usman he's been dominant for sure because he dominated Tyron Woodley. Even Woodley said himself that like he didn't know what happened there, and the way he just demolished Kobe Covington, that was just that was because like his jaw's broken
Yeah.
while he's fighting, and you just like he keeps on hitting him in the face. I'm like, dang.
It was a hard watch. At one point, I was just kind of like, oh, I was just like, damn. I watched the fight. I was watching the fight with two friends, and they saw some of those punches, and just normally people are like, oh yeah, oh that was all right, but these guys were like, oh, and they're just like, you just even the fact you're watching that fight, it just looked like he was hurt, and it just looked like, nah, I wouldn't want to be in your position.
Yeah, for sure. He had the warrior spirit for sure. I mean, respect him for keeping on fighting. But I think watching that fight made me cringe almost as much as the Jang versus Joanna fight, if you remember that.
Oh man, that fight was one of the best female MMA fights of all time. That fight was spectacular.
I mean,
her face was like, I don't even know what to describe her. It was like a Dorito, man. It was like, I don't even know. She just got. It was a fair call. The fight was a fair call because that Shang is she's crazy, man. She's a good fighter. I like to see her. I don't know what weight is they fighting at again. It's not strawweight, is it?
Strawweight, yeah.
Because I like to see her and Shevchenko.
Yeah, that would be a good fight.
But as well, like the GOAT, we're going to talk about the female GOAT, Nunes. Nunes. I mean, I know she's lost a couple of fights in her career, but I don't think anyone's beaten her. I think she's got to this level of fighting now where she just looks unstoppable. I mean, she dismantled Cyborg. She destroyed Holly Holm. She's beat Ronda Rousey. I don't know. I think she beat Misha Tate. And she's beaten Shevchenko twice.
No, she choked out. I think she beat Misha Tate by.
Yeah, I think it's submission. Yeah, I remember. I think that was like back in. I can't remember when that was. I mean, I'm sorry, but like she's beat Shevchenko twice, and like a lot of these fighters, they say, "Oh, I've got the stuff to beat her," but I don't see anyone because female MMA, women's MMA, like respect. I love it. I mean, there's some amazing fights there, but it's quite new. So the quality, I'd say at the moment, it's like you get the top 15 or the top 10. There's some good fighters, but I think apart from that, there's not many like spectacular fighters because it's a new thing and it'll take its time. In like 5-10 years, it's going to be at its peak because there's going to be so many good fighters coming out. But I think
I agree with that.
Nunes. What does she do next? Does she fight men? does she go off and fight men? I don't know. She's too good. Like, man, she's scary. She's a good fighter. I mean, I enjoy watching her fights. I think she's just so dominant the whole time. She's so dominant.
She's literally this generation's Cyborg.
Yeah.
When Cyborg came through, he was just killing everyone. There weren't many fights for her, and Nunes stepped up. So there's definitely someone brewing that we've not heard about that's going to come through.
Oh, yeah. There's always someone, but when? When is this someone?
When? I don't know. We'll probably give it, I'd say probably be like 5 years from now. Maybe, I'd say at least 6 years, 7 years from now. there'll be someone. But I don't really see anyone stepping up like this because she's just too dominant. Her last fight against who did she fight last?
It's not Jessica I, was it? It's not Jessica I.
Let me see. No, it's Felicia Spencer.
Felicia Spencer, yeah, not Jessica I.
That was brutal.
Man. But, like, fair play. She made it to 5 rounds, so...
yeah, for sure. But at what point is it a fight and is it just you surviving?
Yeah. I mean, that's what happened in the Ferguson fight.
Yeah.
You know, I think in the Anthony Smith fight as well, Lionheart Smith. I mean, he got, in that way, he got really badly hurt. It's a shame because he's kind of a gatekeeper as well. I like him, but I don't think he's going to challenge anyone. Dominic Reyes, I think if John Jones decides to go up or leave or whatever happens, I think Dominic Reyes is the next light heavyweight. He's good. I like his style. I mean, he deserved. I think he deserved to beat Jones. I mean, he deserved that fight. Jones didn't deserve to win that fight. Dominic Reyes was so dominant, but unfortunately, they didn't give it to him. So,
disagree.
You disagree?
I completely disagree. Completely. John Jones won that fight.
No, I don't know, man. He looked better, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, I'd like to see the fight again.
Yeah.
To kind of sell it, but it needed to be a knockout.
If you watch back on that fight and you look at everything that happened, you'd see that John Jones won. You know, for someone to be dethroned as
champion, you're going to upset people with that one, though. That's going to upset people. It's not.
I think people can be upset. That's their problem. They just need to actually watch the video. Watch the video. Watch the fight. And then you'll see, look at who's landing punches. Look at who's doing more. John Jones, I honestly think leg kicks saved him.
Oh, yeah.
And if leg kicks save him, then leg kicks save him. He won the fight. I mean,
people don't recognize. I mean, I agree with you there. People don't recognize leg kicks in fights. They get. I mean, a good example of that was Volkanovski versus Holloway, where he was just kicking, and he was dropping those kicks. And people are like, what? How did he win? And it's like, because he was so dominant with his kicks, and he just kept landing them because they count as points. That's what I think. It's not always boxing. It's not always body head takedowns. Kicks are really important too. So no, I agree with you there. But I don't know. I just saw that fight and it just felt like Reyes did better. But
no,
I'll watch it again and I'll see. But maybe
he had more flair. He had more flair than John Jones. Let me compare this to a boxing fight. Let me compare this to boxing. You watch AJ versus Ruiz too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So in the first one, AJ lost.
Definitely, for sure. He wasn't ready. He
wasn't there. He wasn't completely there.
No.
And his game plan was completely different. He'd been running through so many people. He was like, "Oh yeah, this is just another guy." People talk down Ruiz for the whole time, and then Ruiz beats him. Okay, now AJ has a new game plan, and he wins by points. He didn't try to.
Yeah. It was like a fencing. Watch it. It was very a fencing style kind of boxing where it's like moving, jab, move out, 1, 2, 3. Okay, step out. It was very. I mean, I know for the casual fans that was an exciting fight. I really enjoyed that fight just for the boxing element, because it was nice to see AJ kind of use his fight IQ to kind of propel him on to the next fight.
And brings me back to John Jones versus Reyes. John Jones has been champion for probably longer than I've even watched the UFC.
For sure. He's the youngest UFC champion.
Yeah. And he didn't. I think his game plan was just to win. His game plan wasn't to dominate. You can't just go in there and try and dominate Dominic Reyes. That would get you knocked out. Reyes was honestly, if Reyes landed more punches, utilized kicks more, he would have won that fight. But he didn't, and in order for someone to lose their championship, a championship isn't a small thing; it's a big
No,
accomplishment.
sure.
And if you win it, you should win it outright, where it's like no one really can argue that you won it. And even
Yeah.
if you win by points, it makes sense. If he won that by points, to me, it wouldn't have made sense. It would have been like the judges looked more at the hype of the situation than the actual
Yeah.
result, you know?
I think as well, people are bored of John Jones because he's not finishing people like he used to,
Yeah.
as well. I mean, I haven't really seen him take people down a lot. I mean, in his game, he's been very much standing. I guess it's because he's so confident in his like ground game that he doesn't. He'll put it on. He'll happily put it on the feet, and people know how good he is on the ground, so they don't want to take him down either.
Yeah.
So I guess that has an element. I mean, he looks like he needs a challenge. I think he definitely should go up to heavyweight. I mean, very much. I think he's definitely capable of going up to heavyweight.
I disagree based on his recent performances.
It could, but it could spark something different though. I mean, he might be bored. He knows lightweight. He's almost got lightweight in the bag. So maybe if he goes, all right, I'm gonna fight heavyweight. And
Yeah.
what if imagine DC wins the fight, the heavyweight title fight, and then John Jones decides to sort out financially whatever he wants with the UFC, and in a crazy world, him and DC fight for the heavyweight title. I mean, that's not gonna happen. But
doesn't want that. If you lose 2 fights against someone, you just stop.
no, for sure. I mean, that brings us to the interesting one because DC never beat John Jones when he became the light heavyweight champion. So,
Yeah.
is DC a real champion if he hasn't beaten John Jones?
No, he is 100%. I think John Jones is just an anomaly.
I think if he beat, I think because John Jones, I mean, it's his own worst enemy, kind of in the sense of where he did a lot of unfortunate things, to kind of stop him from being a stable champion.
Yeah.
So, and DC took his opportunity. Yes, you can say John Jones beat him twice, and one of the fights was a no contest because of drugs and stuff. But with DC, he took his opportunity, and he's a clean athlete. He's done what he's wanted to do. I know people don't respect him a lot as a champion. I think they more respect him now. But I like DC. I think he's a good fighter, and I like to hope he can win back his belt. And I think if he wins back his belt, I'd like to see him retire. And just I enjoy his commentary as well. I mean, he's got a good outlook on fights. He's an experienced fighter. I think he won bronze medal in the Olympics, and he's a double champ. Well, was a double champ. So, I mean, I respect him as a fighter. I respect him as a commentator. I'd like to see him win it again. And if not, I'd like to see him just retire because I want to see a man like that, like, just lose because he'll ruin his legacy. Like, everyone rates DC. I think he's got to that point now where he's not public enemy or no one dislikes him. Everyone's like, yeah, we respect the work he's put in.
Yeah.
Like, and he's coaching as well. I mean, he's coaching a lot of fighters too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got a definite future in commentary and coaching. But we were talking about the boxing. So talking of boxing, I mean, as you probably heard, they've agreed financial terms, I believe, with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury for a 2-fight deal. Obviously, there's a couple hurdles in the way. Joshua's got to fight Pulev, and Fury's got to fight Wilder. Well, I mean, what do you make of that fight? I mean, not Pulev and Fury, but yeah, I mean, the Joshua and Fury kind of their fight.
It's the fight that I really don't know who I want to see fight. Who I want to fight more: AJ versus Deontay Wilder, or AJ versus Fury. I think really because of AJ's loss and Deontay Wilder's loss, that they should be fighting each other to see who's going to fight Fury.
Yeah, but currently, obviously, Anthony Joshua is the undisputed champion, isn't he? But it's weird that all of a sudden Tyson Fury's got the WC belt and he's lineal champion. He's hot topic, even though Joshua has all the belts. But the rest of the belts.
That's not fair. That's not fair. I've never understood that. It's really been like, I felt like that's really insulting to him. How can you belittle all the other? I think it's like what he's holding like 4 belts right now.
He earned those belts well. I mean, because Tyson Fury, obviously, his situation where he was doing cocaine and stuff, obviously, it was a horrible situation he was going through. Obviously, he lost the belts. So him and Klitschko, he had to beat Klitschko to get that belt. He wasn't maybe the best Klitschko to get for the belts, but he had to beat him, and I think he did well in beating Klitschko. And then obviously he's beaten a few people on the way. I mean, he got Parker to get the belt, and Parker was the world champion himself, so he beat Parker. And obviously with Andy Ruiz, I mean, fair play, he lost, and he went and fought a good fight afterwards.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's got to fight Pulev. I mean, it'd be interesting. But then if Tyson Fury, because Tyson Fury's going to fight Wilder again, and that's what I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that fight
I'm
again.
done. I'm done with it. I mean, the first fight was great, amazing fight, just because what happened and how he got back up out of Rose Rose from the dead, and then the second fight, how he just outclassed him. I mean, his boxing was amazing, and
bullied him.
And what's the point? Wilder had his chance, he didn't take it, and I mean, if he knocks him out, then it's like, wow, you're not the better boxer, you just knocked him out. And I don't want to see Wilder as champion. He's not a deserved champion. He's not a gifted boxer. I mean, look, he's a crazy fighter. He's got a crazy punch. His knockout power is amazing. Like, I wouldn't argue there that he's not a fighter, but I don't think he's a gifted boxer, and I don't think he deserves to be champion.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, for sure. In sense of to be a champion in boxing, I think you need to be someone who boxes. You know, it's hand in hand. It's really unfortunate that Deontay Wilder didn't dedicate more time to improving his boxing skills, you know, because he's been blessed with power. I know he says it all the time, right? My perspective is this: yes, you've been blessed with power, but why aren't you investing your time into becoming a better boxer so that you can use that power? You know, how much better could he have been if he just had even like just better boxing ability?
Definitely.
Like you.
Imagine the movement, if he could move a bit like Fury.
Yeah.
And like imagine with that power. I mean, I just think he would be unstoppable. I mean, it's a shame, like you said. I think Fury beats him again, obviously. I think that's just what's going to happen. He's going to outclass him again.
Yeah.
And then if Joshua beats Pulev, which I think Joshua will probably win. Fury and Joshua. I think, personally, I like Andy Joshua, but I think for Tyson Fury is the better boxer. He's a heavy hitter. He moves like a welterweight. He's a very light fighter. I just think he's going to beat him. I think he's going to beat him in the two fights. I mean, maybe Joshua could get him, maybe, but I don't know. I think I can just see Fury winning that fight.
Personally, I do have a bias towards Anthony Joshua. I do want to win the Fury fight. I'm just going to say that straight up.
No, that's fair enough, man. Everyone has their favourites.
But I think, how do I put this? Fury's IQ, boxing IQ, is just, I think it's number one right now.
Man, he's incredible. Honestly, just watching his older fights as well. I mean, the guy is he's a very smart fighter. I mean, if you ever watched him fight Klitschko, I mean, again, he was crazy good against Klitschko. So definitely deserves his dues where he's taken. People didn't respect him a lot, but I think everything he's kind of done in his comeback story was amazing. And obviously, I know he speaks about it a lot, but like just kind of where he came from. I mean, as a standpoint for mental health as well. I mean, that was an incredible kind of it, because a lot of people will in his scenario would just give up. Yeah. And obviously, even if you're not world champion, you know, you give up quite. I mean, sometimes he's very fortunate where he has the money and, you know, he's got boxing, but a lot of people don't even have any solid foundations. So, but at the same time, it's also very motivating for people. Like, this guy was crazily overweight. He was the former heavyweight champion, but now he's basically been disgraced by everyone. No one liked him because obviously how his personality was. And he comes back and just, you know, changed his kind of attitude, I think, towards life as well. And he's not the same person. And I think because he sorted himself out, I think he sees life differently, and you can just see he's enjoying it. And I think the respect he's earned is definitely warranted, because obviously what he did in the ring and outside of the ring, to pull himself out that kind of rabbit hole is, it's very incredible and definitely well deserved for that title fight. And then if he beats Joshua, he's got his belts back because obviously he was the previous holder of those belts. Yeah, it'd be crazy. But either way, I mean, to have an all British final, essentially a British two British heavyweight boxers fighting for the undisputed title of boxing. So you got lineal, you've got everything. I mean, that is just for British boxing. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Yeah, I don't know who wins that fight, to be honest. I think it can go either way. I know everyone says that all the time. Oh, it could go either way, but it really can. If Tyson Fury is on form, and treats it with the military precision like he treated Deontay Wilder fight, then I think he's probably gonna win. I think if he even comes with that attitude and just come forward against Joshua, I think that same strategy should work on Joshua because times do we see Joshua really pressed heavily on the back foot. We never. I mean, maybe Povetkin. I don't know. Did Povetkin really put him on the back foot?
Povetkin gave him some shots, but ultimately Povetkin kind of just got outweighed in his power. Joshua's power and height kind of just took the better of it. I mean, it was a brutal knockout.
Yeah.
Povetkin, but it was interesting, but it was one of those fights that just you can see going Joshua's way. And I think that fight was the last fight before he fought Ruiz, and I think he was very probably much on a high, kind of he just outboxed the world champion because he obviously beat Parker. Then he goes against Povetkin, beats him by knockout, and I'm sure he's going in that Ruiz fight because he was meant to fight Big Baby Miller, and obviously he failed a drugs test. Yeah. Andy Ruiz comes in, and he's like, I'm sure he was like, look at this fat dude, he ain't gonna do nothing. And I think Andy Ruiz definitely changed. Andy Ruiz and Tyson Fury definitely changed. I think gave people a different perspective on what being physically fit is and what being an athlete is as well. And that you can't count out people just because they don't look the part. Because, I mean, look, Tyson Fury, he may not be shredded and he might not be, he might not have the best body in boxing, but he's definitely very fit and he's definitely fit for a boxer. And he can dance around and move around for essentially 12 rounds against some of the best fighters, even though he's not. I mean, the guy's cardio is crazy. I mean, he's definitely fitter than most boxers, really. So, I mean, the view on fitness there is crazy because I know a lot of people's aspects. If you're going to be fit, you've got to be shredded. You've got to be like this. And sometimes it's not always about that. Sometimes it's just about skill and commitment. And
being consistent.
I mean, what would you ever put yourself in a situation where you'd have a MMA fight or a boxing fight, or even enter maybe a jiu-jitsu tournament or anything like that?
I think I'm more likely to do a good question actually. Are we talking no headgear?
What in? Well, I guess as amateur MMA. I mean, if in amateur boxing you don't wear headgear. I know in amateur MMA you don't. I mean, you can in some situations, but most of the time you don't.
You can't really. And I mean, in MMA you can kind of wear headgear, I guess, but it doesn't really work. Yeah, it doesn't really work because it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's distracting. I mean, I've
stand-up sparring, and
I've sparred with headgear on before, and it's really irritating because a lot of the times you try to move out of the way. Yeah. If you're ever on the ground, then it gets ruffled about. All of a sudden, it's halfway across your face, and all of a sudden you've got to move it to the side, and someone's trying to hit you. I mean, to be honest, I don't with headgear and boxing. I don't like it because you're going to get hit anyway. And personally, I don't think a bit of padding is going to make that much of a difference. I mean, just from my experience, you still get hit either way. I guess it's because I think you'd rather your body get used to being hit and sparring. Your head, because if you're wearing padding all the time when you're getting hit in the head, your body's used to that. But you take it off, and as soon as you get hit, probably the same shot, it's a different feeling. And I think before you wear head guards, I think if you do train with head guards, I get if you're a world champion, you need to be light, or if you're fighting for title shots, or even a professional. But I think you need to get used to being hit first. You need to know what being hit in the face is like, so you know. Yeah, so then you go like, oh, okay, I want to fight, because I mean, I'd like to have some fights. I mean, whenever this COVID-19 thing's done with, I mean, it's definitely made me want to. When before I was like, I don't know, because I've had like when I was younger, I've competed a few times with some stuff, and I've really enjoyed it. I mean, for me, the training aspect of it, just the respect you get with the people you train with, and just the build up to it. I mean, for me, it's one of those sports, combat sports, just one of those things where when you win, you've put the effort in. I just feel like, I mean, with most sports anyway, but it's just such an achievement because you're physically giving everything you've got, especially in MMA, because it's not. I mean, boxing, obviously, I know there's no legs, and there's some aspect there where I mean, I'd love wait one day to have a boxing match, but I definitely want to focus on MMA. I mean, you're pretty like a fit guy yourself. I mean, I'm sure you'd be alright fitness wise.
Yeah. I want to learn. I actually want to learn. I really want to learn jiu-jitsu. I think it's just more practical. Like literally, how many times are you gonna end up in an actual scrap in your life? And if anything, you probably don't want to rely on your like ability to punch. You probably want to rely on your ability to just get someone on the ground, keep them there, keep them so that the fight doesn't continue, and then you just
yeah. I think with the basics of punching, though, I mean, you can learn that. And if you do a bit of like boxing or like Muay Thai, because I do Muay Thai, I think that's one of those kind of things where you can do on the side and pick up. I mean, and be fairly confident. With jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of craft. I mean, with all martial arts and combat sports, there's a lot of craft. But jiu-jitsu is one of those ones you can't, because you can kind of fake it till you make it with punching.
Yeah, that's true.
With Don Tawada, you can do that, but you can't fake it till you make it with like grappling and jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I mean, you got to work your way into an armbar. You don't just get an armbar. No one ever gifts you with an armbar or a choke. But sometimes you can get gifted by punching someone in the face if you know how to punch properly. So, like, I'm not saying like jiu-jitsu is the hardest one, but in a technical sense, there's a lot to it. And I think if you can learn it, I mean, you look at fighting completely different because, like, you can apply your jiu-jitsu techniques or the mind games of jiu-jitsu and boxing where you're faking and setting up situations where maybe they don't realise. But I think people should definitely do try jiu-jitsu or any martial art generally, because
I think people should just join in any form of
fitness,
or because boxing is great. It keeps you like doing runs and things, especially if you have like a community of people. It just gives you motivation. Like there's a feeling I get after sparring that's just like, you know what, we had a good time.
You just punch. It's crazy because, like, in the real world, imagine you try punch each other or choke each other out, and then you're like, "Oh man, that was amazing. That was a good shot." You know what I mean? But like with a lot of other sports, I mean, like say football, because football's a very competitive sport, and people, if you're not on the same team, people can get very personal, and they want to be this. And if you nuts someone or pop the ball in between someone's legs or you tackle them, people get really mad. People get really mad. They get personal. But with MMA, it kills your ego. I think martial arts in general, and it kills an ego. I think a lot of fighters maybe develop an ego sometimes, but for the best of times, it makes people realize that they need to humble themselves, and it's a humbling experience sometimes, because sometimes you'll fight someone amazing and you'll do really well, and then some guys you'll fight someone who'll destroy you. But it's a humbling experience because when you meet the people in the middle or the guys you do beat, you respect them and you develop a respect for people.
Yeah, for me, it's very humbling, because I realize, I'm not as tough as I think, and I also realized that getting to a certain position, getting to a certain ability and skill in fighting, in mixed martial arts, it's going to take time, it's going to take dedication, and it's not something that just happens overnight. So
No.
knowing, I think, especially with other sports, you see like basketball players getting all feisty and stuff from like small,
Yeah.
or like football players getting angry over some tackle or something.
Oh
That's
yeah, definitely.
don't try and instigate a fight, because in real life, especially doing MMA, that anyone can knock anyone out.
Yeah.
Don't try and be super tough and all this. Just be humble
I
and
mean, I see it in football a lot.
yeah,
I love football. It's one of my top three favorite sports. I mean, it's second to martial arts, but yeah, I see a lot of players kind of just squaring up to each other, and you're like, if you're gonna do something, do it. Don't pretend, because you just look silly.
it just looks ridiculous. It's like, we know you're not going to throw that punch. Just stop. It's just embarrassing.
Exactly. It's just like, man, it looks weird, because it's just like, oh, you're in school, and then like you run at each other, and I'm gonna hit you. Oh, I'm gonna do this, and then you got all your mates like basically in between you. You can't get to that guy, so you're more like, oh, I'm gonna get you, watch, kind of thing. And I think that's what I mean. Look, there's some footballers out there that don't do that, and I love football when the ball's rolling and the game's going, and it's some amazing moments. But that's one thing in the sport. But I guess in the heat of the moment, I guess if you're not equipped in that life situation and you're not used to dealing with things not going your way, or you get tackled wrong, I think emotions flare up. I think and definitely in martial arts time, respect is a thing, because I could get hit hard, and I'll be like, oh damn, you caught me there, man, and everyone's like, oh sorry, but they're like, some people apologize, and some people are just really nice about it. So
Yeah.
the respect culture in martial arts is I definitely, that's one of the reasons why I did it. Well, it's one of the reasons my mum made me do it. It's a learn respect and self control.
Like,
I mean,
like when I was younger, I did taekwondo.
hmm.
It was either that or Boy Scouts.
Oh, that's a tough decision, because taekwondo is basically Boy Scout. Not joking. No, taekwondo is a good one. I mean, it has a good foundation in MMA as well. I mean, some of the kicks that you do in taekwondo are crazy.
Oh yeah.
I think as well, it's good to be all rounded. I mean, because I started off with karate, and I did karate for a long time. But I wanted something with more edge, because I didn't get to spar a lot, and that's what I really wanted to do. That was my because obviously I just started watching like MMA, and I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. I like that. I mean, some people, because you had Machida. Machida was kind of the standout karate guy,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, what does he do? And I just looked at this. Okay, he does this. I was like, oh, I started doing a bit of kickboxing, and then I did that for a couple of years, and then I found out Muay Thai is like kickboxing, but with obviously I shouldn't say this, because like it's going to trigger a lot of people, but
Don't say it.
right, I can't. I'm not even going to bother. But Muay Thai is a whole other level, because I don't even want to dare say it, because I've heard people say it, and it offends me, and I don't want to do that. But kickboxing is good, but Muay Thai is just it's just another level of
Muay Thai is kind of like jujitsu. You can only fake it until you get
you
knocked
can't.
out.
Listen, man, if you get hit in the shin, a shin kick to the ribs, or if someone hits you in the shins, or they catch you on the thigh, man, oh my god, you don't realise that I've taken some hits to the legs, I've taken some. I'd rather those leg kicks, man. Getting hit in the legs is so painful, because a headshot, you can move your head out of the way, and
Yeah.
yes, you can check a kick. A checking kicks hurts as well, but you can condition your legs as much as you want. But someone's always going to hit you harder than the next guy, and it's always going to. And you can't exactly once your legs go numb, you have to kind of fake. You have to try as much as you can to fake, not show your legs not hurting, and people catch on to it, and then they just like going for that leg. It's just. Oh man, I mean, imagine. I remember one time my leg just went dead, and I just collapsed on the floor, and I was like, I can't. I tried. I got back up, because I can't. I'd rather, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, I want to give it all my best because I know, like, I remember when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I was getting like, I get tapped. You get tapped a lot when you start jiu-jitsu. I mean, it is literally one of the only probably things you do in jiu-jitsu is tap. It's the most common thing you probably do when you start. And then when you get to fight someone who's new at jiu-jitsu and you've got that bit of experience, and then you get to make that guy tap. Oh my days! That feeling. My first submission, or that was it. I'll never forget it. It's like, yes, I'm learning.
Like that's what I'm trying to work up to. Get my first submission. That for me is gonna be the golden moment where I'm like, okay, let's keep going. It's kind of like because I skateboard. I skateboard.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you land a kickflip. It took me so long to learn how. And once you do the kickflip, you're like, I'm never turning back.
Once you submit someone in jiu-jitsu, it is addictive. It's like, when you start to develop your game and you realize what you're not doing right and what you're doing wrong, it becomes a different ballpark because I realized when I first started that I would never take my back off the ground, and I was so nervous. I mean, I didn't do any of that. And then when I realized simple, I know it sounds like a novice, but just moving your hips, not keeping still, moving, almost like don't move naturally. It's almost it's like a dance almost. It's like a dance. I mean, it's very much for me. I see jiu-jitsu like chess. It's a complicated game of chess because there's so much you can learn in jiu-jitsu. It's crazy, but with jiu-jitsu, it's very much Brazilian jiu-jitsu is. If I can make it simple for people, it's like chess, and you can't. It's not a one-move match. It can take hours. I mean, normally it takes 10. You get submission matches out of 5 minutes or 3 minutes, but if you're training with someone and there's no timer, I mean and you're fighting someone who's basically the same level as you, I mean that just comes a different ballpark altogether.
For sure.
What's your kind of training background then? What's your style? That's what you'd say.
I wouldn't really say I have much of a style, to be honest. I'm still pretty new to fighting and everything. I think I do more. I think my body has more mechanics of boxing in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm really good at kicks and things like that. I'm really good at kicks. And if I go on runs and stuff, my stamina does increase. But if I don't go on runs, my stamina is just disgusting. It's just nothing.
What's your training? What are you doing at the moment? What are you doing to keep fit?
Right now, I turn on the PS4.
Yeah. Man. You just turn on the PS4. I like it. I like that.
In the last few days, I've done some football, done some basketball.
Yeah.
I need a gym because of my body type. I need a gym to actually stay.
All you need,
yeah,
resistance bands, kettlebells, and willpower. You don't even need resistance bands, kettlebells. Even body weight. You just need that willpower, that motivation, that push.
For me, if I start doing body weight, I just become too skinny.
You could get heavy rocks. I know someone who they're doing they've just got these small boulders in their background where cement where they've just found it, and they're doing squats and they're doing medicine ball throws and they're just doing stuff like that, and they're just utilizing what they have, and you should do that. I mean, you should just dig a hole and take some dirt out of the ground.
I've just gone on eBay to search up boulders. I saw one for a giant boulder that's bigger than a shovel for £2.
Mate, there you go. You can do some strongman carries. You can become the world's strongest man. Be like Eddie Hall and deadlift 500 kilograms.
Oh, the mountain. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to butcher his exact
Thor.
name.
Thor, yeah.
Yeah, Thor. Yeah, he beat.
Oh no, but the thing is, yeah, it wasn't an official, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, okay.
Because, like, yeah, it was 501 kilograms, but how do we know that? Like, there was no official adjudicator. Like, he didn't do how Eddie Hall did it. Eddie Hall did it in front of 10,000 people with a strongman referee and the world and people who deal with world records. He lifted it. Ford did it at home. I think he had friends and family with him. I mean, there's no.
Okay,
Because
so
I'm not.
I'm the same.
I mean, yes, you can say, oh yeah, he lifted it, and he probably did. I'm not saying he's a liar, but all I'm saying is, I could. I mean, I wouldn't, but I could say I run 100 meters in 8 seconds, and I can easily exactly. I could fake it, and then, but there's no, and I can then go around. Oh, I've got the world record. I could get some fake plates and say, oh, I'm deadlifting 502 kg, and then does that mean I have the record? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I fully look. Thor's a beast. He is a freak of nature. That man is an absolute tank, and he probably will. He probably can lift that, and I'm not doubting him. But it's not an official one for me. And talking of those two, Eddie Hall and Thor, those two are going to have a boxing match next year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they've signed it. They're having a boxing match.
Why?
Because so when Eddie Hall won World's Strongest Man in 2017, Thor said he cheated and was cheated out of it, so it wasn't his. And ever since then, they've had bad blood. And they've kind of just been like to and fro on social media. And I think they just went, let's have a fight. And they're both basically going to train to have a boxing fight. And they're going to train apparently differently. And it's going to be a full-on boxing match, I think. I don't know how many rounds.
This is exactly why that's not going to happen.
I know, apparently it's been signed. It's been signed. They've done it. Apparently there's a contract and everything.
This is ridiculous. Dude, they have literally, no offense to them, no mobility for fighting.
I know. But then Eddie Hall, yeah, I've been watching some of his videos on YouTube. And you know what? He looks like he's changed his lifestyle and training just to suit boxing. And he's got over a year. I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna like be amazing, but you can do a lot in a year. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's like those two YouTubers, KSI and like Logan Paul. I mean, they're like. I mean, look. I mean, fair play to them.
Yeah.
Like a whole. I mean, I've seen them. I've watched the fights. I'm not gonna lie because I like boxing.
Yeah.
I used to watch KSI a lot when I was younger. I'm sure I've watched some of his videos now and then. But like to do what they did from the Joe Weller, I think that's his name, from that fight, to make that event that they did is, even though it wasn't the most gifted boxing match of all time and it wasn't the most epic or thrilling or skill wise, but it was something that a couple people decided to just make up one day themselves, and they made it like a world skeptical kind of thing. Like everyone knew, and even stepping in the ring, and fighting and doing what they did. Full respect to them. Full respect to them. I mean, it takes a lot of guts, and I mean, they put on a good show. I mean, it was exciting. You anticipated it. Everyone wanted to see the fight. They've sold money. I mean, I know apparently KSI wants to fight. I think it's Logan Paul's brother. I don't know his name.
Jake.
Is that it? Jake Paul. Yeah, I mean that apparently. I mean that could be potential to sell as much money, but I don't think that fight will sell as much as the second Logan Paul KSI fight, because that fight kind of had like the va-va-voom kind of touch to it. It had that kind of like, oh, this could be interesting. I don't see that with the next fight, but they can make a quick. But in their eyes, they'll see it as an opportunity to make a couple million again, and they probably will. So fair play to them.
Just like, dude, here's the problem. You know, I don't know if they've got like, they're too old to be doing this. I'm sorry, like Eddie Hall and Thor, they're too old to be doing this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think it's gonna be a one-off thing, or I don't know if it's gonna be a two-fight thing.
No, but still, it's like you're old enough to have a conversation and squash your beef.
I think it's because they're both athletes, and I think they see the money opportunity. I think they saw the opportunity what KSI and Logan Paul did, and I think they're like, I want a bit of that. And I think because they're both from the same background where it's very competitive, and
Yeah.
I think they're both seeing it as an opportunity to make essentially they're probably one of the biggest paychecks they'll get to settle their family. And I mean, obviously, I'm sure they both got a decent amount of money. I mean, Thor definitely, because he was like the Mountain in Game of Thrones.
True.
I think he's looking there looking at if they made a couple million off it, or maybe even more, or whatever. Like for them, that's it. They're like, cool. We're both strongest men. We've got that title. We've done this, that, and the other. And one of them's got one on the edge of boxing. Because Eddie Hall could say he's done boxing, and that's their way to push themselves into the mainstream media. And I think that's what a lot of people want to do. Because Eddie Hall does YouTube, and I think he's wanting to push away from strongman and be Eddie Hall the brand, which I mean he's very interesting to watch, and I like the stuff he does. And I mean, as a boxing fan and martial art fan, I'm just like, you know what, let them fight. If people want to do it and they train properly and they put the effort in, I mean, why not? It's an open sport. It's a sport for the everyday people.
Big
Yeah, it's a sport for the everyday people. Martial arts and boxing. I mean, I consider boxing as part of martial arts as well. So
yeah, for sure.
it's definitely a skill based thing. I mean, I know a lot of people don't think boxing and martial arts are are the same thing, but like certain people go it's combat sport, but it's like kickboxing and people. It's like basically saying Muay Thai and kickboxing are the same thing. They're not. They're two completely different things, but they come under martial arts. And I think with the discipline you get with boxing, and it's definitely a martial art. I mean,
Boxing is 100% a martial art. I'm sorry.
100%. I mean, if you don't think it is, then I don't know.
Like, imagine someone had Mayweather's defense and then just threw a kick right after. That would
Man,
be unreal, you know?
that would be like it's like having Tyson Fury's movement at that height and then being able to be really good on the ground. It's like, yeah, that's what I'd want to watch. I'd like to see.
I think the next evolution of martial arts, of mixed martial arts, is definitely a higher boxing ability. An ability to dodge, because like sometimes in MMA you see a lot of wide punches being thrown. You don't see as many like straight punches.
Yeah, I think
over the head, overhand punches.
I think because a lot of that comes down to like you have people that are really good wrestlers and they develop a bit of jiu-jitsu and they've done a little bit of boxing or something there. They develop kickboxing with their striking coach. And a lot of a lot of the younger fighters coming through now are more well-rounded. And I think in the next 10 years, MMA is gonna be so competitive.
Yeah.
Because it's a young sport, really. MMA is a really young sport compared to most. And it's still at that point where it's like, what is it? What's going on? I mean, there's so many like someone could be so good at boxing and then amazing wrestler. Maybe we'll see that. I mean, because MMA's got these stances, but you can take it from Muay Thai. I mean, they duck and dodge. I mean, sometimes there's people who do Muay Thai fights. They're just hitting each other. It's not even moves like I'll hit you in the face. They take in turns, and I mean, I watched a Burmese boxing match. I don't even know what Burmese boxing is.
I might have an idea if I saw it.
It's basically Muay Thai, but with headbutts.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Headbutt. Oh my! Imagine putting headbutts into MMA. Like it's just. I watched it. This guy was just headbutting this guy to knock him out. I was like, that's someone who does not care what he looks like. Because if you're willing to use your head to knock someone out, you do not care what you look like.
That's a good argument. that's yeah.
Mate, it's just boxing needs to be respected. It's a good sport. I mean, it's not obviously well rounded. Obviously, you've got the punches and the stances are different. I don't think you could just be a boxer in MMA, but Yeah, definitely. It's got its place. I mean, look at Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz. They're they do boxing. And, you know, it's worked really well for them. I mean, they got a really good ground game as well, so that's supporting them. But I think, yeah, they're both really good fighters, and their boxing ability is amazing. So, and then if you look at the crossover with McGregor and Mayweather, I mean, that was another spectacle. So yeah, no, boxing and MMA they go hand in hand.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man, I think we can call it time there.
Absolutely. Wow, an hour 26.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, isn't it? We're just talking. But yeah, no, that was our kind of first episode. So we're kind of new at this. We're just kind of winging it as it goes. I mean, personally, I thought that was quite good. I think that went quite well. We had no issues with connection as well. Yeah, I don't know what platform we'll be able to put this on. Probably YouTube and maybe Spotify. I've seen a few things we can do. So like, yeah, if everyone likes what we're chatting about or disagrees, please let us know. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, then yeah, please share. It's been good. I mean, what are your thoughts, man? How do you think it's been?
I think it's been a good talk. We covered a lot of things. Covered everything, really. I think.
Yeah, no, that was good. It was good.
Yeah, most of the main points in people's minds, especially now. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when we're doing the next one. If anyone is listening, hopefully there's at least 2 people listening, and hopefully it won't be us. Hopefully, yeah. Like definitely. Tell us what you want to talk about because, like, yeah, we're open for anything. Obviously, there's a limit, but yeah. There's a line. Yeah, there's a line. And
if not, we will. We'll call you out.
Yeah, it depends how much you're paying. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. Cool. So this is this has been episode 1. So yeah, peace.
Peace.